It's 13 pages. I doubt we'll get through it.
We may not. For y'all at home, welcome. I'm Reverend Dr. Roger Paul. This is the 5th Epical Revelation Fellowship. It's September 16th, 2015, and tonight we're going to start paper 49, The Inhabited Worlds. And unfortunately, I have to have dental work next week, so if we don't get through it, it'll be 2 weeks before we get back to it. So, unfortunately, that's life, right? You have to have your teeth worked on sometimes. Okay, if my darling wife had said a prayer, we'll get started.
Dearest Heavenly Father, Mother God, in the quiet of these moments we come to you to learn and to grow and to come to understand more deeply the teachings of the Urantia book. Help our minds to be open and our hearts to be receptive to the knowledge we'll be discussing tonight. And bless Roger and his issues with his mouth and his teeth, and help him to recover well from his dental work. We give all thanks and honor and glory to you, Father, Mother. In your name, Jesus, Christ Michael of Nebadon, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Y'all gonna see me snaggletooth in a couple of weeks. I have to have an implant put in and then a cap put on. With the VA, it takes 8 months. So anywhere else, it's an overnight procedure, right?
It is, but at least it's a molar. You won't be,
yes.
You know, we don't have to look at it.
That's right. We don't have to look at it. Let's get started. Tim, would you please take... I hope you're feeling better, Tim. I didn't even ask about you.
Yes, I am. Thank you. I feel wonderful, and I'm great to be here with all of you.
Great. Would you take chapter.
Paper 49.
Start out, Tim.
Okay, 49, The Inhabited Worlds. All mortal inhabited worlds are evolutionary in origin and nature. These spheres are the spawning ground, the evolutionary cradle of the mortal races of time and space. Each unit of the ascendant life is a veritable training school for the stage of existence just ahead. And this is true of every stage of man's progressive paradise ascent. Just as true of the initial mortal experience on an evolutionary planet as of the final universe headquarters school of the Melchizedeks, a school which is not attended by ascending mortals until just before their translation to the regime of the super universe and the attainment of the first stage spirit existence.
Okay, so they're talking about the Melchizedeks here, this school that you go into right before you become a first stage spirit there, right? Okay, but before that, they say basically that the mortal inhabited worlds are the spawning ground for all of the mortal races. So all mortals start with the same type of experience as being a human or a mortal, right? And that's what this paper is about today. And,
hey, Roger.
Yeah.
What do they mean when they say the word translate? How do they use that?
Translate from being a Morantia being to a full first stage spirit. So you actually go through, what they're saying translate here is you actually go through an experience of changing totally. Because the 570 changes we make as a Morantia being is pretty close to being the same, with the exception of being tuned for each planet. But when you go from being a Morantia being to a first stage spirit, then you change wholeheartedly your type of existence. Okay? And that's why there's a school for this, because it's a major change to go from your Morantia body and being to a spirit body and being. Right? So that's what they're talking about here. And if you think about it, the term is really correct for what else?
Us leaving here and going into the...
That's right. Us leaving here and going into the Morantia type of existence. Right? So we translate from human to Morantia, and we go through a lot of changes, a lot of different bodies in the Morantia existence, and then we translate from Morantia to spirit. Okay, first stage spirit. And we stay a spirit type of entity all the way out up until when? until we become phenoliters, right? Okay, and that's our final associated type of being, right? That's what they call
Hey,
it.
Roger.
Phenoliter. Yes.
When you say final in terms of phenoliter, but isn't there a step up like a mighty messenger?
Well, there's a 7th stage spirit, Tim. When you're a phenoliter, you're actually a 6th stage spirit. But we won't reach the 7th stage, no matter what kind of changes we make, until the entire 7 super universes reach light and life. And then the Supreme will come into full fruition, and we all reach the 7th stage simultaneous. Be quite a while. So even if you become trinitized and that sort of thing, each different type of possibility makes you a little different. But a phenoliter is different than would be a mighty messenger and things like that.
Yeah, I just remember that quote where they say, once you become a mighty messenger, your name is taken off the phenoliter roll call.
That's right. That's correct. Because you're no longer what? A phenoliter. You become a servant of the 7 super universes. Right? So your future is no longer in the 4 outer space levels either, right? You follow me?
Yes.
Because as the mighty messenger, then you assume the responsibilities as a mighty messenger for the 7 super universes, not the outer space levels. Okay? So that's why they take you off the roll call. You're no longer considered, quote, quote, on the phenoliter roll call list, even though you've reached that point, right? You're an equivalent of a phenoliter, but you become something even more, which is the mighty messenger.
Okay,
right?
Thank you, Roger.
Sure.
Roger?
Yeah.
Does a spirit contain any matter? In other words, any automatons?
A spirit, yes. A spirit has a body just like a Morancha being has a body, but it's on a totally different level. Then we have, instead of 2 types like in the Morancha beings, we have what, 2 types of matter, right? As a spirit, you have the tri-matter, the 3 types of matter. Okay, so it's a totally different type of body. It's probably lighter, you can see through it, that sort of thing, but it's a totally different experience than the Morancha experience. But there is a physical body. In other words, you don't float around like ether. You know, no one ever reaches that point. Even the highest beings in the universe that don't have a physical presence like a spirit, they still have a physical body, right? Keeps them together. Does that make sense, Rodney?
Yeah, it does. I always wondered about that.
But it vibrates at a very different level.
It vibrates at a very different level.
Hmm. Interesting.
There we go. All right. Millie, would you take the next one, please?
Yes. All inhabited worlds are basically grouped for celestial administration into the local systems, and each of these local systems is limited to about 1,000 evolutionary worlds. This limitation is by the degree of the Ancients of Days, and it pertains to the actual evolutionary planets whereon mortals of survival status are living. Netherworlds finally settled in light and life, planets in the pre-human stage of life development are reckoned in this group.
Okay, you were right the first time, Millie. Neither worlds.
Neither worlds.
Yeah, are settled in light and life.
Neither of these worlds that are settled
In light and life, right. Nor planets not in the pre-human stage. Now I want to bring up a caveat to this, okay? So we know that there's about 1,000 planets eventually that will be inhabited in the system of Satania. Right now we have 619 full-fledged inhabited planets. And we're going to go over different ones tonight, of ones that are in the progress of getting there and how long they're going to take and that sort of thing. But there is a statement in this paper that mentions there are other types of beings other than human. So don't assume because the entire 7 super universes is full of planets raising humans to go on the ascension plan that there's not other types of beings on planets other than human. Okay? I want to make that clear. And they don't tell us about these types of beings because they have nothing to do with what? The ascension plan. That's right. Okay? So there are other types of planets that are inhabited that are not considered what? Human. Right? Okay. Because they're not on they're not planets that were made to create and raise humans. Right? Okay. Did I muddy the water?
What are they if they're not human?
Those little green men.
Yeah, who knows? And that's the truth, Melly. We do not exactly know because they're not related to us in our ascension plan. They don't feel it's necessary to confuse us more by telling us about them.
Could they be bugs?
Okay.
They could be just about anything. But they do say in this paper that all humans are upright bipeds. In other words, they all, stand upright on 2 limbs of some type and have the same type of mind and that sort of thing. So we're going to talk about that at extent tonight. Okay. Rodney, would you take the next one?
Yeah, Roger. And my question is, you're either an ascending sun or a descending sun.
That's correct.
Right?
Right.
So these other beings may not be part of our ascension plan. Maybe they have their own plan.
They may. There may be a whole duplicate in all the universes of ascendant beings that are not human. We don't know. That mirror us or something. Honestly, I don't know because they don't tell us. Or they could just be beings that are related to keeping the universe running as smoothly as possible too. So it's it's up to the human imagination to come up with your own ideas about that. We do know one thing, right? The universes, all of them are managed and are all orderly. There's no such things as Star Wars where planets are out there battling with each other and killing each other and all that stuff. That does not really happen. That's all Hollywood. Okay? So, and it's a lot of fun to go and watch it, and see the heroes, and the Force be with you and all that stuff. But
Boys and Indians.
But it is not reality. That's what it boils down to. It helps us to understand the concepts of more planets and more types of beings and all that stuff. So it's good for us to entertain those thoughts. But when it comes to reality, the whole universe and the 7 super universes, the outer space levels are all orderly. They are managed and administered by orderly beings that are assigned to do so. So there is no chaos in the universe. I mean, people think that it's all haphazard. Nothing is not planned in the universe. I mean, everything has a plan, right?
But because we are the planet, basically we're, as a result of the Lucifer rebellion, we are chaotic.
We are a chaotic planet. We're a chaotic system right now. The Satania, the local universe, or the local system is in chaos because of why? Because of the Lucifer rebellion. We got 39 planets, or 37 planets that have rebelled, And so right now, those planets are out of what? Out of the will of God. It's a temporary situation. It might take 1,000,000 years to straighten it all out, but it will be straightened out. That's what the ancients of days do. So it will be adjudicated and it will be straightened out, and that's what happens in the universe. That's what I'm talking about.
It has to be like that.
It has to be like that. It cannot be any other way. That's why they put us in quarantine. If we're put in quarantine to keep from infecting mentally, socially, spiritually, all the rest of the 7 super universes. Okay? So that's why there's no communication outside this planet. We're still in quarantine. The communication that goes out on outside this planet are those beings which are higher than us that are within the will of the Father, right? They can communicate all they want. It's just us that can't, those who rebel. Okay. Go ahead, Rodney, would you take the next one?
Okay. Satania itself is an unfinished system containing only 619 inhabited worlds. Such planets are numbered serially in accordance with their registration as inhabited worlds, as worlds inhabited by will creatures. Thus was Urantia given the number 606 of Satania, meaning the 606th world in this local system, on which the long evolutionary life process culminated in the appearance of human beings. There are 36 uninhabited planets nearing the life endowment stage, and several are now being made ready for the life carriers. There are nearly 200 spheres which are evolving so as to be ready for life implantation within the next few million years.
A few million years. Nothing to them,
That's
right?
just life, that's
right.
implementation.
Okay, there's 36 uninhabited planets nearing the life endowment stage. This is where the life carriers come in and insert the plasma of life on the planet, right? And then evolutionary process takes over, and eventually you end up with humans, right? Now it's interesting that several types of mammals are in this life implantation. So whichever mammal comes up with a thinking brain type being that can be considered human, the first one that makes that first choice, no other mammal after that point can become. Okay, only one per planet. Okay, so if the dolphins started making choices first, they would be the humans on this planet, or any other mammal, the bats. You see what I'm saying? It depends on which one makes the decision first. Okay, then they go on to tell us there are nearly 200 spheres involving ready for life implantation within the next few million years. A few million years is nothing to eternity, right? So, you know, when you say about there's 619 inhabited planets, are there 620? Not likely yet, right? Because this process is a very, very long process. It was 500,000 years before, after the life implantation, before we came up with the first human, right? 500,000 years, that's a lot of evolution, a lot of time, right? So
That's when Caligastia came 500,000 years ago.
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. 500,000 years before that, before Caligastia came, is when the life implantation took place. And then 500,000 years later, the first human shows up. When the first human shows up, then what happens is the system sovereign sends out a planetary prince, right, to that planet, because it's considered what? Inhabited. And with the planetary prince goes the whole planetary prince's staff, along with what? The Caligastia 100, right? Volunteers from Jerusalem that go to the planet, volunteer to stay there and help the barbarians get to the point where they're more human, right? And that's what happened with the, except for the fact we went into rebellion 200,000 years after they got here, right? Okay.
Hey Roger, I had two questions.
Sure.
One, these other planets, the evolutionary process, is it just like Urantia?
Just like Urantia, Tim.
Okay, and the other one was, when the staff of the planetary prince, they go out, they teach the barbarians. Do the barbarians attend school with those individuals?
Yes, it's a school. It's a very primitive school, Tim. They teach them basics things like basket weaving, how to take hides and cure them so they can wear them as clothes, how to grow things, you know, how to plant seeds and grow things like that. Brings them up to the place where they're farmers and herders.
Yeah, have to domesticate animals.
And how to domesticate animals. They also teach them a primitive language. And an interesting thing is, if I remember correctly, the language they teach them, they actually start to teach them to write characters, and the first characters they taught them to write had 26, I believe it was. You know who else has 26 characters? The English language. Isn't that interesting? I'm not saying they taught them English, they probably didn't, but it's a fundamental thing they taught them to start to communicate. And then from the communication, they taught them how to have groups and tribes and things like that. It's the Caligasser 100 that started this out. It didn't start out on its own, you know.
And the curiosity is already embedded in our consciousness, so the curiosity would motivate them. And
that's right. That's right. They held our hand all the way through the process. You know, before that, we were using clubs and sticks to kill animals to eat, and we ate them raw and all that stuff. I mean, that's the type of beings we were. You know, very barbaric. Now, the interesting thing is, they don't consider us out of the barbaric stage, right, until we're ready for a magisterial son to come to the planet. We still hadn't had a magisterial son. We had a creator son. And because of the creator son, the spirit of truth was poured out on the planet, right? And
But,
spirit.
but didn't the creator son take the place of a magisterial son?
No.
I mean, in the same time frame.
And it might have, we don't know if it's the same time frame. It
Okay.
was the decision of Michael to come to do a son bestowal on this planet, but it does not replace a magisterial son's visit. So sometime in the future, we should have a magisterial son's visit, right?
So we're still barbaric.
That's with my point. Are we still in the barbaric stage?
I would think
don't know.
so.
I think probably
serial
so.
killers? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so, probably. Okay, so let's keep going to the next.
So hey Roger, this is hands-on training of survival. This isn't classroom education.
That's exactly right. That's
Okay,
exactly
thank you.
right. Survival training and how to reproduce and that sort of thing and do it properly. You know.
But didn't they set up art school? I mean, Adam and Eve's job was to set up artistic communities, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that was how long later? 250,000 years later.
250,000.
Years later, right? So we were pretty barbaric all the way up to Adam and Eve, if you think about it, right? That has not changed. We're still pretty barbaric. You know, we're killing each other. And, you know, we think it's fun to watch serial killers on TV every night. You know, and what's our #1 shows? Killing, mutilation, how we do wrong to each other. You
How
know?
to build tree houses.
Well, that's the exception here.
I like that one.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep going.
Not all planets are suited to harbor mortal life. Small ones having a high rate of axial revolution are wholly unsuited for life habitats. In several of the physical systems of Satania, the planets revolving around the central sun are too large for habitation, their great mass occasioning oppressive gravity. Many of these enormous spheres have satellites, sometimes a half a dozen or more, and these moons are often in size very near that of Urantia, so that they are almost ideal for habitation.
So you assume from this paragraph that Urantia or planets around our size are perfect for human inhabitation. Let me tell you a couple reasons why. You get a gravity that's oppressive like the very large planets, then you have very short people, right? Because the gravity affects everything, the cellular structure, everything.
The brains.
The brains. So you'd end up with 2-foot people, right? On the planets with not as much gravity, with too high an axial revelation, then you'd end up with what? Very tall people, right? 10-foot, 12-foot people, because the gravity is so much less. That makes sense? And they talk about this a little bit here.
So what about if the dinosaurs, you know, had reached a point where they were actually making this, conscious decisions.
They would be the humans
They
on
would
this
be the
planet.
humans, so they were very large, even though we
Yeah,
don't.
but they had to be mammals.
Oh.
Only mammals
mammals,
become
okay.
human.
I'm
And
sorry.
they talk about types of beings that have wings and fly, okay? And they live in the trees, just like the bats do, right? So I'm sure there's other types of humans that walk on two legs that may not look anything like us.
Kind of like Ewoks, right, Roger?
Yeah, kind of like Ewoks, right? And yeah, on the Ewoks, if you got high gravity, that's exactly what they look like, wouldn't they, Tim? I mean,
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, what's an Ewok?
Star Wars.
Oh,
If you watch Return of the Jedi,
yes,
Yeah.
I've seen it. I'm sorry.
I
Okay,
yeah.
I wasn't.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's why movies like that are really good for us, because
They do.
when we read this, we go, oh yeah,
They expand our consciousness.
Yeah. It's just like that, right? All right, let's keep going. Oh, I'm up. Okay. The oldest inhabited world of Satania, world number 1, is Annaba, one of the 44 satellites revolving around an enormous dark planet, but exposed to the differential light of 3 neighboring suns. Annaba is an advanced stage of progressive civilization, and this is a picture of it. Okay, and notice Annaba kind of looks like Earth in this picture, doesn't it? It's an inhabited planet, and it's one of the many satellites around this dark planet that has the reflective light of 3 suns. Okay, so this is probably heat and cooled and lit by these 3 suns. Now, this dark planet would do what? It absorbs light constantly. Nothing reflects off of it, right? So even those can be used to balance the effect of 3 suns around these satellites, and they can still be used. You see what I'm saying? So, it's amazing. The universe is just beyond human comprehension, really.
Hey, Roger, this
Yeah.
reminds me of something. I had a question for you.
Yeah.
What exactly is Anagona?
You mean Annaba?
Anagona?
Anagona.
It takes place in paper 57. I was wondering what that was. I'm looking at,
You mean
Avona, the sun.
Anandoners? You mean Anandoners?
Hold on, let me spell it out for you. It's, coming up here. It's Angona. Angona.
What is it? Can you read something?
I'm going to have to look it up, Tim.
It takes place at paper 57. I was kind of confused. It just says, although Anagona succeeded in drawing away the ancestral material of the solar system planets and the enormous volume of matter now circulating about the sun as asteroids and meteors.
Okay, that would be a planet then, Tim.
So it's a planet. Okay, yeah. Thank you, Roger.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's okay, yeah.
I couldn't remember
Let me look that up right now.
reference. Yeah, it would be a planet. All right. Go over here.
I'm looking in the back of the book. Angona system, approach 4.5 billion years ago, disgorged our solar system from the sun.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's a big planet.
No, I'm sorry. I misinformed you. No, that's not what that is. That is actually a celestial mass of matter, if I remember
It's
correctly.
like a galaxy.
Huh?
Okay, here it is, Roger. It says
Yep.
Anagona. Physical system was triggered the formation of the solar system.
Yeah.
It's a system.
Yeah, if you can think about it, it's like, one of my brain's in neutral tonight.
Unqualified absolute?
No.
Where it's material?
No, it's a mass of celestial matter that's going through the universe, and it's organizing a large area of space into planets, but it steals the material from other solar systems. Okay, so it's not really a galaxy. It's a pre-galaxy. It's
How quickly we forget in paper. in paper 41,
Yeah.
page 465, number 10 at the bottom. Some of the variable stars in or near the state of maximum pulsation are in process of giving origin to subsidiary systems.
Right.
Many of which will eventually be much like your own sun and its revolving planets. Your sun was in just such a state of mighty pulsation when the massive Angona system swung into near approach and the outer surface of the sun began to erupt veritable streams, continuous sheets of matter.
Right.
And the rest of the paragraph too. But it's a planet. It's a thing that happens.
That's right. It's like a massive Andromeda system, really, that sucks up matter and space from other galaxies. Right.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want to read more, you can check out paper 57, section 5, Origin of Animatia, the Urantia solar system, and you can start where it says 4,500,000,000 years ago, the enormous Agona system began its approach to the neighborhood of the solar sun. So,
all right. Now, y'all keep in mind when you read this.
It's a system.
It's a system, but keep in mind when you read this, who controls creating this stuff?
the master architects or the physical controllers?
That they are involved, but who is at the head of the helm?
The infinite spirit?
Michael and the creative mother spirit, right? They
Because
pick out their space.
Our universe.
The local universe, right, Roger? Not the super universe.
The local universe, that's right.
That Michael created.
Pardon me?
That Michael created.
That Michael created. They are the ones that make the decisions of how this happens, right? So this is part of the movement of materials and planets and things like that being created for Michael by the physical controllers, right? But it's under the direction of whom? Michael and the local universe Mother Spirit.
Right, but that's just Michael and the local universe Mother Spirit, because she can't leave Nebadon. There's an exit point where as far as she can reach.
That's right. But she's in control with Michael of all this, right? The quote administration of all that goes on. Makes sense? And we'll get to that we're getting off track here. Let's go on to planetary life. Here. Tim, I think you're up.
Okay, the universes of time and space are gradual in development. The progression of life, terrestrial or celestial, is neither arbitrary nor magical. Arbitrary nor magical. Cosmic evolution may not always be understandable, predictable, but it is strictly non-accidental.
This is what we're just talking about. Who controls that? Michael, the local universe Mother Spirit. Now, is this still going on? Yes, right? Because the entire local universe of Nebadon is not, what? Finished, right? So this is still going on.
So, hey Roger, when they talk about cosmic evolution, they're talking about the developing human beings?
No, they're talking about not only the human beings, Tim, but the evolution of the physical planets, their makeup, and that sort of thing. Okay? Because the evolution has to be there before they can plug in the life plasm for humans to start developing. Right? So it includes the whole process. Right?
So he's getting a lot of help from Michael, and his creative Mother Spirit's getting a lot of help from a lot of people, and he's organizing it, and it's evolving.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there's many, many beings involved in making all this happen. That's what they're saying here. Let me go back here. That's what they're saying here. It's neither arbitrary nor magical. There's nothing magical about it. It's all controlled by the direction of Michael and the creative Mother Spirit. And it goes on to tell us that cosmic evolution may not always be understandable or predictable. In other words, it may not do what you expect it to do. Right? But it's strictly non-accidental. There's no accidents in creation in the universes. None.
Well, the creative process is unpredictable, but it is orderly.
That's right. That's right. There's no surprises. There's no surprises in the universe for two reasons. Number one, God the Father foresees everything before it ever happens, right? God the Son projects these same things onto whom? The Creator sons, the sons of God. So when Michael gets ready to create a universe, a local, something like a planet or a universe, he knows how it's going to come out before he starts, right? That's why he's in the direction of everything. Okay? That's what I'm saying. There's nothing accidental throughout the entire universe, right?
Even Lucifer's rebellion?
Pardon me?
Even Lucifer's rebellion?
Even Lucifer's rebellion. Michael gave Lucifer every opportunity to try to manage this universe on his own, right? The other thing is, we do not discount the fact that we are an experimental planet. What does that mean? That means the life carriers are able to tweak the life plasm to try to make improvements. Okay? These improvements are not accidental. Okay? They're trying to make specific improvements in the way human beings exist. Okay? But Michael is in charge of all of this. He knows probably before it starts how it's going to come out. Okay? Foresight, which we can't even begin to understand because he gets it through the Son, through the Father. Okay? He knows what's going to happen before it happens. And it's really funny, but even on this planet, when he was walking around with us, he knew many things that were going to happen before they happened, and he was very careful not to let the apostles know that he knew what was going to happen. Why? Because they would put him in such awe that he couldn't get anything done. Right? All right.
They would continually ask him what's going to happen next.
That's right. What's going to happen next? You know, constantly, right? Okay.
That's what I do with you with movies. If you see them.
Yeah, Diane loves to ask me what happens next, and I never tell her. So, I don't care how many times I've seen a movie, I just won't tell her. It spoils the surprise of the movie.
Well, for me, I want to know so I don't get nervous.
All right, let's keep going. Who's supposed to read next? Who just read? Tim?
I just read, yes.
Oh, you just read? Okay, Millie, would you take the next one?
The biologic unit of material life is the protoplasmic cell, the communal association of chemical, electrical, and other basic energies. The chemical formulas differ in each system, and the technique of living cell reproduction is slightly different in each of the local universe. But the life carriers are always the living catalyzers who initiate the primordial reactions of material life. They are the instigators of the energy circuits of living matter. Whoa.
There you go. So they come and they implant life many times in the oceans, okay, or in the water. There are ways to implant life it not being in water, but this is how they do it most. Kind of reminds you of that movie Prometheus, where the guys at the beginning of the movie, you see these beings coming down and going right into the deep of the water, and they start to disintegrate and basically start life on that planet. You know, that's it.
Makes me wonder if they read this book.
Huh?
Makes me wonder if they read this book.
It makes you wonder, but it gets way off track from them. The movie does, but it was a beautiful example of what a life carrier would do. You know?
There's a whole book on Prometheus.
Yeah.
Hey, Roger.
Yeah.
What does the word the energy circuits of living matter?
The energy circuits of living matter basically come from where? The creative mother spirit, right? That is well. Let me make a a correction
Infinite
there.
Spirit.
Huh?
The infinite
The
spirit.
infinite spirit. But it also comes from where? Paradise.
It's
Right.
yeah.
All matter comes from paradise. It's controlled from the infinite spirit through the creative mother spirit. Only the creative mother spirit can give living matter the spark of life. Only. Not even the life carriers. The life carriers are the catalyzers of the spark of life. You know what a catalyzer is? It allows it to happen, right? So the life carriers bring the life plasm to the planet. The creative mother spirit gives it the spark of life, and boom, evolution begins at that point.
So the life carriers work for the infinite spirit.
Yes. Well, they work for the Creator Son too.
Well, the creator.
Yeah, Creator Son and the infinite and the creative mother spirit. Right.
So hey Roger, I was just wondering how they use the word energy circuits, and you're just referring it to, it's the spark that the creative mother spirit
Yeah, it's the spark that the creative mother spirit.
of living matter.
Yeah.
Is that the Holy
And
Spirit?
let me show you something else here if I can get it. I'm gonna have to stand up, unfortunately, to get this because I don't have a mouse for that over here. So
Is that the Holy Spirit?
I'm going to show you something. Y'all here, if I can get my mouse. This is going to take us out to our website. Here we go. Circuits. All right, this is what you just asked about, right, Tim?
Yes.
I'm not on camera anymore because I want to point these things out to you. Notice here it says, all lead back to God on paradise. You remember the four circuits we talked about before? Let's see. Energy circuits, gravity circuits, mind circuits. These are all circuits that personality circuit. The Father is in charge of the personality circuit, right? The mind circuit is what? The infinite spirit, right? Personalities, the Father. Gravity is what?
The paradise.
Paradise.
Eternal of paradise.
That's right. That's right. Which one am I missing?
Spirit gravity.
Spirit gravity.
The eternal sun.
The eternal sun's circuit, right? All right.
And which one was the presence circuit? And that would be the personality circuit, correct?
That's the Father.
That's the Father's circuit.
The universal Father's
The
presence.
universal Father's, right? It also mentions the 7 circuits here. This is a great tool, the index, because you can go back and look. This is what I've been working on, re-indexing the whole paper to our version.
Is that the fellowship version, Roger?
Yeah, it was the fellowship version, and I have taken it and made 8 different versions of this. I'm halfway through it, and making them go directly to the paragraph that it's talking about. So if I go in here and I want to see the cosmic mind circuit, see where my mouse is? If I click on that, it'll take it exactly to that paragraph in the book.
That's cool.
All right, and that's why I'm re-indexing it, so it goes directly to the paragraph, because the old version would go to the page, but you'd still have to look for it. Okay, and this way it goes directly to the paragraph. Okay, and notice here it says the 7 master spirits of paradise. Such a cosmic mind circuit is limited to a single super universe. Each one of them has a circuit. Okay, but this is one of the many circuits of the universes, right? Let me close these tabs here and go back to where we were. But you can take anywhere in these slides. You know, if you download these slides, and anywhere where it's got this orange color, it says life carriers or circuits. Once you visit it, it changes to blue. But you can click on any of these from the slides. If you download the slides, it'll take you directly to the web page and where that goes.
Wow.
Okay? And
So, hey, Roger.
I've been working on this for 2.5, 3 years now, doing this. So, and then we're about halfway through the book on it. I've got up to 49 on the first parts of the book, and from 119 through 146 on the life of Christ. So, okay, what were you going to ask, Tim?
So when they say the word energy, they're not referring to, the way they use it is not going to be material, spiritual, or mental. It's going to be...
It's a physical energy circuit. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's controlled by paradise through the infinite spirit. Right?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, let's try something here. Is this beneficial to y'all to stop and do this?
Yes.
Okay.
And you said that was physical energy, Roger?
That's physical energy. Right.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, not spiritual energy.
Physical, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Right. Not spiritual. Right. The spiritual controls it. The physical is what makes it go. Right. That spark of life. That's a physical spark of life from whom? Creative Mother Spirit comes through the infinite spirit. Right. Okay.
Can I read you something real quick?
Sure.
It's on page 9. It says physical energy is a term denoting all phases and forms of phenomenal motion, action, and potential. That's on page 9. Energy, physical, or physical energy. Page 9.
Right. Right.
So that's what they mean.
Yeah. Just brings it down.
You.
It demotes the spiritual to a workable physical type energy. You see what I'm saying?
The last paragraph that I read, the last line, is instigators of the energy circuits of living matter.
That's right.
That's physical energy for the living matter.
That's right. Yeah.
We're not into spiritual yet.
That's right. Just physical.
Trying to get these creatures upright and moving.
That's right. We're physical beings, so they have to kickstart us. That's what they do. You know? It's not that much different than if you plug a battery, you know, when you jump your car off. It's a, you know, it jump starts the matter, and once the matter is started, there's no stopping it to eternity, right? What God starts doesn't shut down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like Tim, I get hung up on the word circuit. There are
Yes.
so many circuits.
Yeah.
And the term energy and circuits, the way they use those two words are completely different all the time.
It is. It is.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
They switch words around. You just have to study the book, like Roger for 25 years.
That's correct. He's a good example of that.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep going now.
It's my turn.
Your turn. Right.
I do believe all the worlds of a local system disclose unmistakable physical kinship. Nevertheless, each planet has its own scale of life, no two worlds being exactly alike in plant and animal endowment. These planetary variations in the system life types result from the decisions of the life carriers. But these beings are neither capricious nor whimsical. The universes are conducted in accordance with law and order. The laws of Nebadon are the divine mandates of Salvington, and the evolutionary order of life in Satania is in consonance with the evolutionary pattern of Nebadon.
So Nebadon, our local universe, basically controls all mandates, and those are the mandates of Salvington. Who controls the mandates of Salvington? Michael of Nebadon, right? He's the creator of the local universe, right? So the mandates which control what the life carriers can do come from Michael, right? The spark of life comes from whom? Creative Mother Spirit, right?
The life carriers may not be capricious or whimsical, but I do think they have a sense of humor.
Well, they'd have to create beings like us. Any way you look at it.
So when you really think about it, Roger, one of the questions is if a life carrier is creating or bestowing, this plasm into the oceans, it doesn't make them God, because
That's right.
It's, you know, the creative mother spirit.
That's right. And you shouldn't worship the life carriers. They're sons of God, just like all the other descendants of God.
And they're just doing those two's bidding, correct?
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Now, the other thing I want to point out in this paragraph before we move off of it is that all the worlds of the local system disclose unmistakable physical kinship. So all the worlds have a kinship in the physical matter that we're talking about.
All the worlds of a local universe.
All the worlds
system,
of
local system.
local system are akin to each other, and they're much alike, right? Even though the animals and plants and things on no two worlds are going to be exactly alike, right? The life plasm that's inserted on each of those has been tweaked by whom? The life carriers on each and every planet, right? Well, every 10 planets they tweak them, but 9 out of the 10, the life plasm they insert is exactly alike, right? Depending on the type of planet, right? So they may have 1,000 different types of basic physical plasm, right? And the only ones they can tweak to experiment with is the decimal every 10th planet. Okay, so that's what we are, is a decimal planet.
So,
The
Roger,
other 9 are pretty close to being just alike. Right?
There'll be 9 more behind us. They're going to be like us.
Well, those 9 will be very, very similar. Even those, because of the evolutionary process, Rodney, they do have different plant and animal life because it evolves differently, right?
That's very true.
So don't get the idea that the other 9 are carbon copies, because they're not any way, shape, form, or fashion that way.
That's right.
But they have a physical kinship. So it says an unmistakable physical kinship. So they're very much similar to each other, right?
So hey, Roger.
Yeah.
That's why we're referred to as an experiential world, because they tweaked the protoplasm stuff.
Yes.
But they did not expect the Lucifer rebellion to be in there. It wasn't planned, right?
No, it wasn't. They had no idea of knowing that was going to happen.
Because when you say, you know, this is an experiential world, you
No,
wonder if that comes
it's
along
not an
with...
experiential. Well, it is an experiential world, but it's an experimental world, Tim.
Right, and when you say that, it's kind of like, well, did they plan that Lucifer rebellion, knowing ahead of time that this was going to happen? I mean, this is an experience world, so, you know, hey... But they never planned the Lucifer rebellion. That just happened with free will.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No. Okay.
I've mentioned it once before, I'll mention it again, that paper 72 speaks of a neighboring planet very much like ours.
Yes. Yes, it does. And we're going to find out in this this paper tonight, if we get to it, that we have a planet that's very, very close to us too. That's inhabited. I mean, very, very close. So it's kind of interesting. It talks about that a little bit too. We'll get to that. I don't want to spoil the surprise. Okay. Who read last?
Rodney just read.
Huh? Rodney did? Oh,
Yeah.
It's your turn.
Evolution is the rule of human development, but the process itself varies greatly on different worlds. Life is sometimes initiated in one center, sometimes in 3, as it was on Urantia. On the atmospheric worlds, it usually has a marine origin, but not always. Much depends on the physical status of a planet. The life carriers have great latitude in their function of life initiation.
Did y'all catch that? On atmospheric planets, most atmospheric planets has water, right? So the perfect spawning ground for the life plasm is to insert it in water and let it grow, you know, like a bacteria. So that's the way they do it in many. And sometimes they do it in one place, and sometimes they did it in 3. On our planet, they did it in 3 different locations, and it tells us the locations in that part of the paper. But on an atmosphere, it's usually of marine origin, so it's put in water. On other planets, different types of planets, they have other ways to implant the life plasma. Okay, and they don't elaborate on that greatly, so we don't really know exactly what they do. On a non-atmospheric world where they have non-breathers, it's probably totally different. Okay, because you have no air that it can use. All right.
So hey, Roger.
Yeah.
On these other planets, they're pretty much, it's starting out just like Urantia, and there's that process of going through the same steps where an Adam and Eve or a material son and daughter will come down.
Yeah.
And pretty much, you know.
It's the same process on every planet, Tim. As soon as a human is established, the first human that makes a moral decision, then that is what's considered a inhabited world.
Well, what I'm asking is that, you know, these other planets, they pretty much bestow, you know, in the waters, and you know, it just has to evolve, and then there's like, you know, the lemurs, and then it goes all the way up to.
And this can take 500. It can take 1,000,000 years. You know, the life carriers have to stay on here and watch this development until the first human shows up. At that point, the life carriers are released except for 12 volunteers who stay around on the staff of the planetary prince. Because as soon as the first human is associated with a planet, then a planetary prince is assigned to a planet with the entire staff. Right.
So it's just like our planet, but without the Lucifer rebellion.
That's exactly right. Without the Lucifer rebellion. So there would be a planetary prince first. There would be like a 100 that came with him. We call them the Calagasta 100 because they came with Calagasta. And then there would be, you know, 100, 250, 300,000 years later, there would be an Adam and Eve. Right? It's a normal progression. And then later, you know, a few thousand years later, then there would be a magisterial son. And then there would be an avonal son, a bestowal son. Right? And later on, there would be a Trinity teacher son, right? So
it might not take as much time on the planets where the planetary prince doesn't rebel.
That's
and
exactly.
Adam and Eve do not default.
That's exactly right.
It might go a little faster.
That's exactly right, Millie, because we have beings and teachers to teach us the proper way to do things.
So hey, Roger.
Yeah.
When it evolves to that, won't it be like one religion and one race?
Yes.
You know, it's funny because a pastor was talking about the Antichrist, and that's exactly what he identified the Antichrist as: one religion and one race or something like that.
One language.
That's not government.
We will.
Yeah.
We will eventually come to, all right, you could call it one religion, an association, an acceptance of one way of thinking. There'll still be many, many religions. But as far as the race goes, we're already intermixing now. Eventually we will come to one race. It'll be an olive-colored race because we'll have the white and the black and the yellow race and the red race. Everyone, we will be an amalgamation of all these different colors, and everyone will eventually be one color. But it does turn into one religion and one race, because the one religion will be exception of what gospel? The fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man. That will be the one religion.
Tim, your pastor sounds like a racist.
Well, there's not going to be any evil Neros or Caesars, so I think that's a good thing.
Yes. Okay, let's keep going. Who's next? Am I up? In the development of planetary life, the vegetable form always precedes the animal, because you got to have food, right? And is quite fully developed before the animal patterns differentiate. All animal types are developed from the basic patterns of the preceding vegetable kingdom of living things. They are not separately organized. So the life plasm has all the vegetable stuff that develops first. Bacteria and turns into trees and grasses and everything you can think of, right? And from that, within the seas, or the oceans, or the waters, there develop mobile types of little creatures, okay? The amoeba, the frogs, and all that stuff. And from that, we eventually evolved into several types of mammalian forms, right? And one of the mammalian forms eventually get to the point of intelligence where they start to make decisions, and when that one makes decision, that becomes the human race, right? Regardless of what it is, okay? So if you go to a planet, you get in the mansion world and you see a being from another planet that has a dog head, well, it wouldn't be a dog, it'd be more like a fish head, you know, of a mammal or a bat or something like that. That's okay, they're still considered human. Why? Because of the human mind and the spirit, right?
We see them on the walls of the Egyptian burial tomb.
That's right. That's right. It's not that far off.
So, hey, Roger.
Yeah.
Was Darwin's theory right?
No.
What was wrong with it?
It was wrong because he believed that we came from the apes and we did not come from the apes.
So there was no protoplasm in the ocean that was distributed by the life carriers. He believes that we evolved out of apes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
I thought it was
exactly,
something to do with the tadpole.
That's not exactly true. He believed that we evolved out of the sea also and from other animals. That part was correct. The part that's incorrect is the branching of the simians into humans. That did not happen. Mm-hmm. Okay? We came from a type of being that was closer to the lemurs, okay, which is really a type of it's not really a monkey. It's a different
prairie dog, isn't it?
More like a prairie dog, really. Yeah, but that's actually our ancestor to the human race, and they were at odds with the simians. Okay, the monkeys, the gorillas, and things like that. Our ancestors divided themselves away from the simians to keep from contaminating the young, mating with the apes. Okay, because it created at that point when the pre-humans or the early humans started mating with the simians, then it created these creatures that were neither human nor ape. Okay, and so they could not survive. All right, so the best thing that Yvonne and Fanta did was to separate themselves from their family and from all their ancestors. So when they started the human race, they really were separate types of beings. And that type of being is what Darwin missed. And it wasn't Darwin's fault that he missed it. He didn't have the Urantia book to look at or to talk about or to think about. He had a pretty good theory. The trouble is, a bunch of religionists, quote Christians, come along and say, you know, that this is not godlike. They don't realize that God creates universes and worlds and humans and all sorts of beings from a standard plan. This is a created, standard, normal plan that happens on every planet. And for some reason they think that they had to have God do magic to create man. The magic wasn't in creating man. The magic is the fact that God wanted man to come to him in the first place, right? I mean, he made a way for creating beings that can find their own creator. But
you know, Roger, that's very common in primitive culture in that time.
Oh, it is.
How they invented myths and all that stuff of creation.
Oh, yeah. There were churches burnt down. There were all sorts of things happened. Still are because of the theory of Darwin. And Darwin was not that far off. He really was not. He just missed a few steps, you know. And he did not do, his speculation was not to destroy religion. You know, he was trying to advance the science of the world. That's what he was trying to do. So, and our mistake is allowing it to have such a stigma on it as Christians, quote, quote, that we almost stop the whole progress of evolution itself. In other words, teaching evolution in schools and that sort of thing. And luckily, evolution won out. The problem is Christianity lost out because they made such a strong stance against it. They don't realize that salvation and the pathway to God incorporates everything, all this stuff, right? So anyway, I'm going to get preaching if I'm not careful here. So who's up? I think Tim, I think you're up, Tim.
The early stages of life evolution are not altogether in conformity with your present-day views. Mortal man is not an evolutionary accident. There's a precise system, a universal law, which determines the unfolding of the planetary life plan on the spheres of space. Time and the production of large numbers of a species are not the controlling influences. Mice reproduce much more rapidly than elephants, yet elephants evolve more rapidly than mice.
All right, let's keep going because the point they're making is coming up. Okay.
The process of planetary evolution is orderly and controlled. The development of higher organisms from lower groupings of life is not accidental. Sometimes evolutionary progress is temporarily delayed by the destruction of certain favorable lines of life plasm carried in a select species. It often requires ages upon ages to recoup the damage occasioned by the loss of a single superior strain of human heredity. These selected and superior strains of living protoplasm should be jealously and intelligently guarded when once they make their appearance. And on most of the inhabited worlds, these superior potentials of life are valued much more highly than on Urantia.
What are they talking about here?
Well, there were some wars early on, and some of the best strains of early man were wiped out.
That's right, and these were the strains from where? The violet race, right? Adam and Eve, okay? It's also true in the earlier part of the sentence when they're talking about the life plasm, favorable lines of things. This can happen in the early development when they implant the life in a planet. You know, you can put the plasm out there, you know, and some other type of, you know, it's developing properly, some other type of species develops and eats up the life plasm that would have a superior strain come after it. There's several things to talk about, and this is true exactly what Millie was just saying. We destroy much of our own inheritance in wars, right? We have the violet blood in these beings, and they have talent, they have probably in their blood themselves antibodies and DNA which would help change the world, and yet we kill them off in wars and stuff. And
we're still doing it today.
We're still doing it today. And other types of strains that are barbaric and things like that, that are alive on this planet, we don't worry about. We don't have any kind of control of like birth control or anything like that for people that are unfit, right? And we've all seen people that are unfit. These are the ones that kill other people, end up in prisons and things like that, because intelligence-wise, they don't get it, right? So,
I believe they should be prevented from reproducing.
Well, that's what they're talking about here, and that's why they're saying it should be, it says superior strains of human protoplasm should be jealously and intelligently guarded once they make appearance. Okay, and it says on most of the inhabited worlds, these superior potentials of life are valued much more highly than on Urantia. Okay, so what are they talking about? They're talking about trying to manipulate human DNA to bring out the best possible future of our planet and our children, right? That's the sort of thing they're talking about, and it all has to do with what? Not religion, but science, right?
Well, it has to do with sports too, because right now they are canvassing junior high schools trying to find the best athletes, you know, to go to the superior colleges that, you know, feature, you know,
Yeah, but they do that not for the right reasons.
No, I know,
They
but I'm
don't
just
do it
saying
for-
that's
they do it
they're
for-
harvesting the you know, the excellent
Yeah,
athletes.
they do it for the entertainment value, and they make more money at the colleges, not because those are
Right.
better physical beings
Right.
that need to be.
Physical.
Yeah.
They have physical abilities though.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
maybe not intellectually, not
But
spiritually.
that's
but
right. That's only part of it. You need to have the mental,
I know.
you know, and the spiritual,
Yeah.
right?
But hey, Roger, I had two questions for you.
Shoot, sure.
The part where they're talking about the different races, you know, like our last paper,
Uh-huh.
I brought up, you know, the ebony, the black man,
Yes.
about being an inferior strain. One of the things you have to realize is this isn't really a prejudiced act, because the revelatories don't know what it's like to be human, so it's easy for them to grade. But the one thing you have to keep in mind, this happened 37,000 years ago. That's what they're talking about. They're not talking about today.
Yeah.
And that was the second question, is what do you think about the races today? How do we you know, it's got to be different, since they're talking.
It's 100% different. The black man may have been an inferior strain 39,000 years ago, but that is not the case now.
Because they mated with the violet blood.
They mated with the violet blood just like everyone else, so their potential is as great as any other strain. You know,
In the earliest portion of evolution, they stayed on their continent of Africa, when all the others, the whites and the yellows and
Blues,
the violets,
The
are
oranges.
east and west, and sharing knowledge and sharing knowledge. It's just like our children today are born with more knowledge. I have nieces and nephews that at 8 years old know more than I did at 12 years old.
right.
They absorb it. They absorb it from the environment around them. And the other races were moving east and west and intermarrying and breeding, but the black people were staying on their continent. They were not moving for a long time.
Yeah, and once that stops,
They got a bad start.
they got a bad start, but they've caught up, I believe, for now. Now, we do have areas like the inner cities and things like that where there's a lot of barbarianism going on, right? A lot of it. But that's going to eventually be breeded out because of the black men that are intelligent and are, you know, they're intermarrying with other races, they're coming along, and they got as much violet blood as we did. Any race did, right? So it's just a matter of time with the intermarriage of the Orientals, the blacks, the reds, all the races, that you won't be able to tell one race from another, I guarantee you. You know,
It's hard now.
it's hard now many times. It's coming. If you don't like it, too bad, so sad, because it's going to come. You know, and you cannot stop it no matter what you do. Okay, it's the plan of God, and you can't stop the plan of God any way you look at it. So I don't want anybody listening to these tapes get the idea that we think that the black race is still inferior, because it's not in any shape, form, or fashion.
Well, Eve had a child by an ebony.
Yeah, that's right. Do y'all remember that? Remember the man that Eve mated with? Did you know he was a black man?
No, I didn't know that.
Yep, he sure was.
And that's why they
That was Cain, right?
That was, no, the Cain was the son, but I don't remember the name of him off the
No,
top.
Cano. Was that Cano?
Cano. That's right, Cano. That's
Yes.
right. That's
But you
right.
know, when you say people in the inner city, it's DNA, wouldn't you agree that it's more of the fact that they didn't have the upbringing of good parents, that somewhere within them the adjutant mind spirits aren't functioning? Maybe they lack 7 or 6, so they're more of a, you know, sociopath or psychopath.
I think it's more along the line, Tim, of a different in culture, and that's what they talked about. You know, when you get to the mansion worlds, we still carry these cultural differences that's hard for us to understand. Okay, so it's just a different in culture, and their evolution, the cultural evolution is different depending on what race it is. And it's the same thing with the Hispanic gangs in California. It's the same thing with the Chinese gangs or the Oriental gangs, Italian gangs, things like that. We all have groups of barbarians within us, and they flourish sometimes, and then eventually people get the bright idea that it has to be contained and controlled, you know. And it's the same thing that's going on. I mean, at one point people thought the Irish were awful, you know, in the white race, right? And so, you know, it's every race has its group of people that they've had difficulties with, and we've had to socially learn to overcome these difficulties, right? And that's what we're going through. We're having we especially have that right now with the Middle Eastern races, right? With ISIS and things like this cropping up. You know, it's the same principle. You have the warring tribe mentality that comes out. People grab a hold of it so they feel part of something. And
well,
then
the Syrians are moving into Europe. That's going to be a big mix.
That's going to be another big mix. So, and it's bound to happen because we have to do this to settle out our society, right?
But wouldn't that be more of a brainwashing technique?
No, it's more of a social technique when you think about it, Tim. It's the sociology of a race. That's what it comes down to, and some advance quicker than others. Look at the Chinese. Gosh Almighty, you know, talk about nations that are more peaceful than any other nations. People forget that the Chinese have had peace more than any other race, right? The Orientals have had peace because of the intelligence of those people, right? And they've let their intelligence overcome their need for domination and war over other people, you know? And you have groups of them that are doing the same thing as all the rest of the races, but the majority of them are peace-loving people, you know? So, you know, it's kind of funny. I would be curious to find out how much of this country is owned by Oriental people, because they know they can go in and buy up the land and control us socially, and eventually teach us how to be as peaceful as they are, you know.
So would you agree that most of these individuals, that by the age of 6, that make their first moral decision, even though they may be of a bad strand, but they still get a thought adjuster, correct?
Yep, everyone does. Everyone does by about the age of 6. As soon as they make that first moral decision. And why is that? It's because the Spirit of truth is poured out on this planet. Okay? Before then, they could go through their whole childhood, even to adulthood, without the thought adjuster. Right? But now we all get them.
Okay, thank you.
Alright. Did we read this one there?
Rodney?
No.
I'm up, I think.
Okay.
Planetary physical types.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Number 2. Next one, Roger.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it.
Okay. Yeah, we did that Sunday and skipped over one. I didn't want to do that again.
The planetary physical types.
Okay.
There is a standard and basic pattern of vegetable and animal life in each system, but the life carriers are oftentimes confronted with the necessity of modifying these basic patterns to conform to the varying physical conditions which confront them on numerous worlds of space. They foster a generalized system type of mortal creature, but there are 7 distinct physical types, as well as thousands upon thousands of minor variants of these 7 outstanding differentiations. 1, the atmospheric types. 2, elemental types. 3, gravity types. 4, temperature types. 5, electric types. 6, energizing types. 7, unnamed types.
And they're going to
The
talk
Stanius system contains all of these types and numerous intermediate groups
Did you go
although
to the next
some
paragraph?
are very sparingly represented.
Yes, we did.
You did? Okay.
Hey, Roger, the screen's kind of blurry. I just thought I'd tell you that.
Okay. Is that better?
No, it's still blurry.
Okay.
You guys see that?
Yes, it's
Oh, I see it now. Okay. See, I'm looking at. See if I can get it to focus again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Thank you, Roger.
That's good.
Tricks of the trade, right?
These next paragraphs on all these different types is really interesting.
Yeah, they are. Let me skip over this one. Okay. Dear? Yeah.
1. The atmospheric types. The physical differences of the worlds of mortal habitation are chiefly determined by the nature of the atmosphere. Other influences which contribute to the planetary differentiation of life are relatively minor.
Okay, what are we talking about here? Because of the differences in atmosphere from planet to planet, then you end up with different types of beings, right? To survive on it. And that's an evolutionary process, right? All right. The present atmospheric status of Urantia is almost ideal for the support of the breathing type of man. But the human type can be so modified that it can live on both the subatmospheric and the superatmospheric and the subatmospheric planets. Such modifications also extend to the animal life, which differs greatly on the various inhabited spheres. This is a very great modification of animal orders on both the sub and the superatmospheric worlds. In other words, the plasma itself can be modified to work on a planet such as that. That's what they're talking about here, right? Okay. If not, then evolution would not happen on that planet, right? Tim, would you take the next one?
Of the atmospheric types in Satania, about 2.5% are subbreathers, about 5% super-breathers, and over 91% are mid-breathers, altogether accounting for 98.5% of the Satania worlds.
Okay, and this is the different types of breathing beings because of the atmosphere of the planet, right?
But hey, Roger, what does that really mean? Mid-breathers, they breathe?
Sub-breathers, mid-breathers. Okay, for instance, a sub-breather would require more, let's say, oxygen than a super-breather. A super-breather may breathe faster, so he gets oxygen at an accelerated rate. Okay, so that's one way you can look at it. Okay, the other way would be that the rate of breath itself could be accelerated or decelerated to get whatever they need out of the atmosphere so that they can survive.
And are they on the same planet, or are they on different
No,
planets?
they're all different planets. Different planets. Kind of reminds you of that commercial about mouth breathers. You know, you become a mouth breather. You know, sleeping at night and not breathing through your nose. I forget. I think it's the Strips commercial. But anyway, so these beings can be modified to breathe at a rate or their body function successfully on a different percentage of oxygen, nitrogen, or a different gas altogether. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Roger.
All right.
Beings such as the Urantia races are classified as mid-breathers. You represent the average or typical breathing order of mortal existence. If intelligent creatures should exist on a planet with an atmosphere similar to that of your near neighbor Venus, they would belong to the super-breather group, while those inhabiting a planet with an atmosphere as thin as that on your outer neighbor Mars would be denominated sub-breathers.
So they have to be
interesting to note that Venus is hotter because it's closer to the sun, and Mars is cooler because it's further away from the sun.
That's right.
will also read us as a very thick atmosphere. Mars is very, very thin.
Yeah, so maybe the super breathers, they have to breathe faster, right? And the sub breather, they breathe at a retarded rate because it's colder and they don't need as much oxygen or something. I'm not sure. So, but of course we're right in the middle, right? We have the perfect atmosphere.
We have the perfect planet and the perfect atmosphere and the perfect creator.
That's right. Rodney, would you take the next one?
Okay, I'm lost. Is it beings?
If mortals should.
Okay, I
Rodney.
can do that. Thank you. If mortals should inhabit a planet devoid of air, like your moon, they would belong to the separate order of non-breathers. This type represents a radical or extreme adjustment to the planetary environment and is separately considered. Non-breathers account for the remaining 1.5% of Satania worlds.
Okay, let's take a quick bypass here for just 1 second. The non-breathers, in other words, they cannot, this is a planet devoid of air. Why is air important? All breathing beings require oxygen and nitrogen, right? And this is even true when you get to the mansion worlds. Okay? On the mansion worlds, we require a third gas to breathe. So that when we get to the mansion worlds, we will have our regular air plus a third gas that's required for the Morancha physical being. Okay? So what they're saying here is a non-breather is a type of being that's created that they do not require breath at all. They don't breathe. Okay? So they don't take in nitrogen, they don't take in oxygen. Alright? Interesting question. When they get to the Morancha worlds, do they start to breathe?
Well, they must.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
So, hey, Roger, they could be pretty beneficial in water, right? If they wanted to.
That could be real beneficial in water if you had your environment. Now think about that. That's a great point, Tim. If you had an environment that was mostly water, you would live what? Underwater.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like a different world under there anyway.
Like the abyss.
Like the abyss. That's right. I can tell you from teaching scuba diving for so long, it is a different world under there.
Oh wow, that's great, Roger.
Yeah.
I saw that photo on your Facebook. I thought you were just scuba diving. I didn't know you were a teacher. That's wonderful.
Yeah. I used to cave dive and scuba dive and all sorts of dangerous stuff.
Hey, did you meet any great whites?
No, that's something I stayed away from. But anyway, did a lot of shark dives though. Okay, but let's keep going. The non-breathers would be able to live underwater, right? So there may be planets that's completely covered in water and their whole society exists, what? Underwater, right? Or a planet without a nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere. There's nothing there for them to breathe, so they don't breathe at all.
Or a planet like Venus with ammonia in the
atmosphere, and they can't breathe, right?
They can't breathe.
So these are all variations of the types of beings that's created in this universe that go on to the mansion world just like we do. But something's really funny about this, and that is this. The non-breathers, for some reason, are the ones that have to be sun-fused. They can't fuse with adjusters. So that variation changes them in some way that makes them...
They can't what?
They can't fuse with an adjuster.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and we're going to find that out in a few minutes, which I find really interesting.
Hey, Roger, do they say who created the non-breathers?
Yeah, the life carriers.
Okay,
The life carriers tweak all living things to adjust to their surroundings.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's go on. The elemental types. Tim, I think you're up.
2. The elemental types. These differentiations have to do with the relation of mortals who water, air, and land, and there are 4 distinct species of intelligent life, as they are related to these inhabitants. The Urantia races are of the land order.
Okay, so from this paragraph, we can assume there must be water mortals, right? There must be air mortals, because we are land mortals, right? So that means these mortals must live under the water. And some of the mortals live in the air, not on the land. Y'all catch that? So if they lived in the air, what would they have to do?
Birds.
They have to fly. That's right. They have to be able to fly. Okay. You know, we talked about bats were mammals. Maybe the developing species on that planet was more along the line of a mammal, like a bat, only human looking. You know, have wings. So anyway. Well,
It is quite impossible for you to envision the environment which prevails during the early stages of some worlds. These unusual conditions make it necessary for the evolving animal life to remain in its marine nursery habitat for longer periods than on those planets which very early provide a hospitable land and atmosphere environment. Conversely, on some worlds of the super breathers, when the planet is not too large, it is sometimes expedient to provide for a mortal type which can readily negotiate atmospheric passage. These air navigators sometimes intervene between the water and the land groups, and they always live in a measure upon the ground, eventually evolving into land dwellers. But on some worlds, for ages they continue to fly even after they have become land-type beings.
Isn't that amazing?
Flying
That
mortals.
movie that they had the planet where...
If I could fly and lived on the land, I'd fly.
Well, you have to have wings, right?
Do they have wings, Roger? Or?
Yeah, many of them do. That's the whole point of this. They may have some sort of appendage, you know, like a skin flap or something that allows them to fly. You know?
Yeah, it would have to be a skin flap, not feather.
Yeah, more than likely it would be more like a bat. You know, they had skin, because most of the time they live in the trees, and they negotiate across the area in the air. They fly.
And they can live in the desert because they eat the cactus flowers.
Yeah.
Bats do, I mean.
Yeah.
Kind of like that movie, Roger, Jeepers Creepers, if you've ever seen that horror movie.
Well, I think more along the line of
Avatar.
You know.
Avatar, yeah, that's cool.
You know, that's the way I think about that.
When I read this, I think of Avatar a lot.
Yeah.
I do too, yeah.
Same
Yeah,
here.
James Cameron did Avatar. He actually produced it. And he also did Abyss, which were the underwater creatures. Very highly evolved creatures.
Yeah.
So, and that was like after like 20 years he did his second, big movie
Yeah.
was Avatar.
Have y'all seen The Abyss?
Yeah,
Yes.
that was
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my, when I was diving, that was my favorite movie, period.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
Yeah, it really was. If you've been 160 foot underwater in the dark of the sea, and you see Avatar, The Abyss was it was right on the money. It really was. Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, Rodney, would you take the next one?
Sure. It is both amazing and amusing to observe the early civilization of a primitive race of human beings taken in one case in the air and treetops, and in another amidst the shallow waters of sheltered tropic basins, as well as on the bottom, sides, and shores of these marine gardens of the dawn races of such extraordinary spheres. Even on Urantia there was a long age during which primitive man preserved himself and advanced his primitive civilization by living for the most part in the treetops as did his earlier arboreal ancestors. And on your rancho, you still have a group of diminutive mammals, parentheses, the bat family, that are air navigators. And your seals and whales of marine habitat are also a mammalian order.
So if either one of those would have beat us to the punch on the brain thing, they may have been the humans for this planet, right?
I have a question.
Yeah.
We exhale our breath to go down, and then we get more air to come back up. If they're non-breathers, or if they live in the water, how do they go up and down?
Well, okay. Normally, there's two types of ways you can go underwater, Melanie. Normally, when you scuba dive and start to get depth, you continuously breathe. You never stop breathing. The only types of diving that you can do, free diving, is you fill your lungs at the top, and to get down you have to let out just a little bit of air, but you go all the way down with just a little bit of air coming out, and then you come all the way back. Normally people that free dive hum, and that's the way they control their breath all the way back up to the top, because of the expansion and contraction of the lungs. If you don't do that, you'll explode, basically, your lungs. And it's the same thing with diving. If you go down too fast and you come back up too fast, you can boil your blood. It turns into microscopic little air bubbles if you come up too fast. So there's a limit of how far you can go down and how quickly you can come back up. And that's
Well, we've heard of getting the bends from coming up too fast, but if you don't have lungs because you don't breathe, how do you maneuver going down and coming up?
That I can't tell you, because I'm not that type of being.
pick up a big rock to go down and let it
No,
go
but the
to come
fishes
back
do it
up?
all the time, don't they? You know, they got gills, and they're actually able to take the oxygen out of what? The water.
Out of the water.
Right? So I would assume if you were a mammalian type of being underwater, that you would either do that or be more like a whale who takes the water in, goes down and lets it out slowly, and when he comes back up he blows whatever's left out and he takes another big breath, you know. So
hey Roger,
yeah.
if you come up too fast up, your head won't explode, right? That's just
No,
false.
but your blood will literally boil from the oxygen going into your joints.
Okay, thanks.
And that's what causes the bends. So that's why normally if you're scuba diving, and I had to do this several times when I was teaching scuba diving, when you're down like 80, 90 feet with someone and they have a problem, if they panic and start to swim for the surface, they'll end up with the bends. So as an instructor, you have to hold them down, stick the regulator back in their mouth until they get their sense back to them, or till you can get them back to the surface.
Have you actually done that where somebody panicked?
Oh yeah, many times. You actually have to hold their regulator in their mouth. You know, they'll kick and knock their mask off and all sorts of things. But you can't let that regulator out of their mouth. They'll continue breathing all the way to the top. When you get them to calm down, then you take them up slowly. Okay, and that's how you keep them from getting the bends. But I have been on ships and boats and seen people get the bends because they panicked and went to the top too fast. So we were in the Bahamas on a Blackbeard cruise with about 20 of us, and we had one of the guys just lose it at 90 feet and start swimming as hard as he could to the surface, and no one was around to stop him. And sure enough, he got to the surface. He got the bends. We had to call the Coast Guard. They had to helicopter him out. You know.
And you can die from that?
Oh yeah, you can die from it. It can go to your brain. You can get an embolism, and it'll kill you. So yeah, it's very dangerous. That's why we teach people before you take them, certify them to dive, that if they have to go to the surface, you slowly let the air out and go as slowly as possible. You know, and that's the safest way to do it. But you can still get the bends even from doing that. if you go too fast. So, and I can tell you, I've been at 120 feet, and you can be out of air completely and make it to the surface slow enough, excelling slow enough without getting the bends. But you have to control yourself. Everything is mind over matter, basically. You know, as long as you don't pass out, you're still good. You know. So, anyway, I'll let your scuba diving instructors teach you the rest. Okay.
Diane's next.
Diane?
3. The gravity types. By modification of creative design, intelligent beings...
We missed the paragraph in Satania, the elemental types.
Oh, sorry. Let me go back one. There you go.
Okay. In Satania of the elemental types, 7% are water, 10% air, 70% land, and 13% combined land and air types. But these modifications of early intelligent creatures are neither human fishes nor human birds. They are of the human and pre-human types, neither superfishes nor glorified birds, but distinctly mortal.
The point they want to make is these are mortal beings just like us. They're not birds and fishes, right?
And just to let you know, Roger, it's going on 7:54, so it's really
yeah,
up to you if
we
you want to
probably ought
continue.
to stop at the gravity types here. Tell you what we'll do. Yeah, it's gonna. Now, y'all remember it's going to be 2 weeks before I'm back, right?
Okay.
I have an extraction at 3:30 in the afternoon. I don't think I'm going to be able to talk.
I sure hope that goes well for you. Nothing happens.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled about it.
I hate going to the dentist. Hate it.
It's my least favorite thing to do in the world.
Even for cleaning.
And I would have the meeting, but I don't think I can talk with cotton in my mouth.
No.
You know, I have a hard enough time with stuff in my mouth. Okay, let's have a prayer and we'll close for the night. Tim, would you like to close us in prayer tonight?
Yes, I would.
All right.
Dear God, I pray that we be strong and wise and courageous. Let us be ready, O God, to fight the terrible darkness of a lonely night. Our shield is our faith and knowledge in you. We shall face many adversities in the arena of life. Those watching us may shout heretic or saint, but the truth is known only to us and you. We stand before you, dearest sweet God. Please do not remove thy hand. We do not care for glory or fame. We are only the plumage that carries your name. We do not fear false ego or vain glory or wealth. We simply pray enough time to teach and guide others in their search for soul's perfection. We shall keep this great truth in mind as we deal with others. I am glad that I am me, and I am glad that you are you. Help us, dear God, to pull others along, and maybe then they will feel the peace of your presence walking beside them. Not my will, but your will be done, Father.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for joining us at home. Please come see us again. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, I hope.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna get off.